Hello and welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar entitled Travelling by Sleeper Trains with Railbookers. And what we'll look at today will be a number of our most popular itineraries, all of which include at least one or more overnight journey. First, we'll just take a brief introduction, really for the benefit of anyone who's less familiar with Railbookers, who we are and what we do, just to explain a little bit about that. And then we'll go straight in to some of these great holidays featuring sleeper train travel. My name is Matt. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. So, as promised, a very brief introduction to begin with. And firstly, just to outline a little bit why travellers love Railbookers and travelling by train with us. And the answer is there's a number of different reasons for that, really. Firstly, there's the rail expert knowledge, or as we like to say, we speak rail, and that goes from everything to the best combinations and ensuring the best routes and the best times and connections to ensure you have the best holiday possible. And that holiday could be any one of a number of different types of journey, really. It could be a luxury train experience. It could be a multi-country, a multi-city extravaganza. Could be a city break, could be creating your own tailor-made itinerary, or it could be extending your river cruise with a little bit of travel by train at the beginning or at the end of the trip. So lots and lots of different options. Or you could book your bucket list trip for 2024. Everything is available up to 2 years in advance. Either way, we've got you covered. Any destination, any date for any length of time. If the train goes there, then so do we. We've got a variety of digital brochures, all of which are available for you to download via our website. Some featuring a selection of our most popular holidays, but also several theme brochures, for example, focusing on holidays closer to home. So if you're looking for UK and Ireland, or indeed Scotland, we've got brochures for that. We've got a brochure on luxury rail experiences, cruise extensions, and so much more. So railbookers.co.uk is the place to head to if you'd like to take a look at those. And we have different locations around the globe, located in Canada, the US, and Australia, as well as the UK. So if you do need to call a little bit later, for example, then you're still able to get through and speak to one of the team. And one of the ways that we aim to take the complexity out of rail travel is by working directly with all of the main rail operators throughout Europe, North America, and beyond. And here's a selection of our good friends and partners. For example, Deutsche Bahn, Trenitalia, Eurostar, of course, where so many of our trips begin and end. Across the pond with Via Rail in Canada, Amtrak, of course, so many more too. And what that allows us to do is two things, really. One is it means that we always have access to the best available rates and availability prices for you. Very important, of course. But not only that, that's how we're able to offer all of these holidays up to 2 years out, meaning that we can guarantee the current pricing. So if you book for 2024, for example, you're going to pay 2022 prices, which is great because you don't get subject to any price increases that might happen in the 2 years in between. Okay, introduction over. Now it's time to look at some holidays, all of which will feature some overnight travel. So if you've always fancied the idea of traveling overnight, but not quite sure where you can do it or what might be the best option for you, hopefully these couple of ideas will give you some food for thought, and we'll take a look and see what it's like on board the trains, as well as look at the other holidays in general as well. So our first one, we'll start off closer to home with our grand tour of Scotland. So if you don't fancy heading too far afield, this could be a nice option for you. Now, of course, like all of these holidays, it can begin at your local train station. We start the journey in London here, is that so we can include one of only 2 overnight sleeper trains in existence in the UK, and that is the Caledonian sleeper heading up to Scotland. So, of course, we could add on travel from your local station to get down to London or up to London, depending where you're coming from, and to catch that train. So the sleeper begins in London and then runs up to the Scottish Highlands, and then next morning you would wake up in Inverness for a 2-night stay, and we include a day trip over to the Kyle of Lacalche by train, and also a day trip to the Isle of Skye as well. So plenty of activities up there. And then we also include a 2-night stay in Glasgow, Fort William, including the the most scenic train line in the UK, I would say, the famous West Highland line. We'll take a look at that in a second. And the Scottish capital, Edinburgh, before returning home at the conclusion of the trip. So let's take a closer look at what's involved. And firstly, let's look at this sleeper train. So this is the what they call a classic room on the Caledonian sleeper train. And if anyone hasn't travelled overnight before, this is kind of your classic configuration of what a sleeper train cabin normally looks like. So you've got one bed above the other one. Now, there are actually three types of accommodation on board the Caledonian sleeper. So this is the entry-level type of accommodation. The next one up is the club room, and the club room is essentially exactly the same, but two key differences, actually. One, it has a mini ensuite bathroom within the cabin. So you've got your own shower, toilet, wash basin, everything you need there. And it also includes breakfast in the rate, which you can either enjoy in your cabin or, as I would recommend, you can enjoy it in the club lounge car, which we'll take a look at in just a second. However, there is a third type of cabin as well, and that one is something pretty special. And here it is. This is the Caledonian Double. Now, anyone who's travelled by train overnight before will probably be agreeing with me right now that these are pretty much, if not quite as rare as hen's teeth, they're pretty rare. It's very unusual that you get a full double bed on an overnight train journey. And you can do it, and we can do it in our own country as well. Now, there are only a maximum of 3 of these on any one train, so they do go quickly. So if you like the look of this and think, wow, I'd love to travel up to the Scottish Highlands in maximum comfort and enjoy that double bed, you need to get in there quickly, because they will sell out, because they say there's never more than 3 of them, sometimes can only be 2 on any one departure. And you get the full double bed, you get the bathroom, you get some luxury bathroom products, and you get the breakfast included, just like you do in the club room. So lots and lots of inclusions here. And this is the club lounge on board the Caledonian Sleeper. This is where, as you set off in the evening, you can enjoy an evening meal if you'd like to. Everything has a distinct Scottish theme, so it looks like perhaps so that could be some salmon there, doesn't it? There's always haggis on the menu as well, so if you do fancy haggis, tatties and neeps, you can indulge in that. And a variety of Highland malts, coffees, and whatever it is that you fancy, whether it's liquid related or if you fancy a meal or you set off on that great train journey. Next morning, if you're in the club room or the Caledonian Double, you've got breakfast included. As I said, you could take it in your cabin, but I'd highly recommend taking it in the club lounge, because particularly when you're heading north up to Scotland, you get to enjoy some of those great views in the morning as the train heads through the Scottish Highlands on the way to the destination. So whether you're going to Inverness like you are on this holiday, or even more so if you're going to Fort William, because the train heads through Cairngorm National Park, and you might see some deer either side of the train if you're looking. So highly, highly recommend doing that. And on this particular holiday, it's Inverness where we begin, the cultural capital of the Scottish Highlands, of course. And here we can see a little bit of the turrets of Inverness Castle looking over the River Ness. And our featured hotel in Inverness is the KINGSMILL Hotel, which you can see one of the rooms here, very nice and comfortable. And it really does have a beautiful location. It's set within 4 acres of beautifully manicured grounds, and it's very, very special indeed, and a really nice place to stay and explore the city from. So we'll just take a look at some of the highlights of the rest of the trip very quickly. One of them is undoubtedly the trip over to the Isle of Skye, and get taken around for the day and see some of the most beautiful landscapes and different vistas and views of this beautiful destination. And here's one of my favourites. This is EILEAN DONAN Castle, which is a small island where 3 tidal locks converge, and you've got the wonderful castle here. Beautiful photo opportunity, really, really tranquil. And I know definitely over the last couple of years, lots of us were looking forward to visiting wide open spaces again, weren't we? And this is a really beautiful part of the world to visit. Now, I did mention that as part of this particular holiday, you would get to experience probably the most scenic train line in the UK. And this is the one that we think it is. If you think there's another one, please do feel free to write in and tell me. But this is the one that we would select. It is the West Highland line from Fort William to the fishing village of MALLAIG, and you travel on the Jacobite steam train, which you can see here. Absolutely stunning scenery from rolling countryside, mountains, lakes. It really does have it all. And I know a lot of the time we think about destinations like Switzerland and New Zealand and Austria, Canada for wonderful scenery, all of which is absolutely justified. But we do have a really beautiful train journey on our own doorstep. And perhaps the most famous part of the journey is this one, as the train heads over the famous Glenfinnan Viaduct. And if any of you are interested at all, or perhaps more likely have younger relatives who are interested in the Harry Potter stories, in the films, when they cross over the viaduct on the train, this is where it was shot. So a little bit of cinema history there as well. And this is the fishing village of MALLAIG. This is where the Jacobite runs to. You have a couple of hours here to relax, go for a stroll, enjoy the harbour, perhaps a spot of lunch, before taking that wonderful journey back through to Fort William. So just some of the highlights on this particular holiday. And hopefully, as you can see here, lots and lots of great experiences, a wonderful overnight journey, and one of the most scenic train journeys in Europe, all available in our own country. Now it's time to head slightly further afield, and we'll look at Italy. And in particular, we'll look at heading to Sicily by train, which you may or may not be surprised to find out that you can actually do, but you can. And I will explain just how in a moment. So once again, our journey begins either at your local train station or at London, and you would start off with Eurostar over from London to Paris, and then simple change in Paris before high-speed train passing through the French Alps as you cross into the Italian border to Milan for an overnight stay. You'd have the day to explore Milan the next day before catching an overnight sleeper train from Milan, which runs all the way down to the coast, the tip of the boot. You'd wake up in the morning, you'd have some great views of the sea before the train is actually dumped on board a ferry. So that's how it works, if you were wondering. And then runs off the other side and you arrive in Sicily. And here we start off with 2 nights in Taormina before heading on to Catania, and a chance to get up close and personal with Europe's largest active volcano, Mount Etna, of course, before finishing with 2 nights in the Sicilian capital of Palermo. And then you've got a choice. You can either fly home, or if you prefer, you could travel back by rail or indeed overnight ferry to Naples, and then carry on by train to head back home again. So lots and lots of options. Again, let's take a closer look and see what's entailed here. So Milano, this is where we would begin the holiday. And as I say, it'll be a full day of travel to get there on day one. You'd have a day to explore on the second day before catching the sleeper train in the evening. And this is probably the heart of the city, isn't it? The famous Duomo and the great squares and gallerias surrounding that. Lots of beautiful buildings, great shopping opportunities too, cafe culture. It's all there. And this is the sleeper train that you would be, or a cabin within the sleeper train, I should say, that you would take traveling overnight from Milan. Here we've got a before and after. So the right-hand side is what the cabin would look like when you board the train. So you'd have daytime seating, as you can see. And then a member of the train staff will come along and will bring the beds down for you, set everything up for the evening. And then, as I say, when you wake up the next morning, you've got some wonderful views that you can enjoy out of the window of the seaside as you head really close to the coast. So some great sea views. Top tip for this particular one is it's the longest journey, so I'd recommend bringing a picnic with you, plenty to drink as well to enjoy on the overnight train. Let's take a look at some of those great Sicilian destinations that you'd visit. So here's one. This is the ancient Greek theatre in Taormina, which was built all the way back in the 3rd century BC and still in use today. And what a wonderful location that is. Great photo opportunity too. Look at the beautiful blue sea there. Perfect location. Absolutely stunning. Next up is Catania and a trip to Mount Etna, of course. And then you would finish up in Palermo, the Sicilian capital. And this image is taken from the heart of the historic centre. This is the Praetorian Fountain, originally built in Florence, believe it or not, in 1554. And then 20 years later, it was physically transported to Palermo, which is pretty impressive anyway, especially when you consider that Sicily is an island. So very, very impressive stuff. And hopefully these little images here go to show you that there's plenty of great history, great places to visit on the island of Sicily. And if you, have been to Italy a number of times, perhaps some would like something a little bit different. If you've not been over to Sicily, well, there's plenty to see and explore. And this is a really nice way of doing it as well. And we'll keep to the Italian theme, but vary it a little bit with our Venice and Vienna via the Alps holiday here. So once again, we start off in London or your local train station. This time, head down to Paris once more. And again, really straightforward change before catching a high-speed TGV Lyria train to Lausanne on the shores of Lake Geneva. So you can spend the evening by the lake, a really nice way of breaking the journey and spending the first evening. And then the next day, you'll have one of the most scenic train journeys, again, in Europe that you can do. A really nice journey through the Simplon Pass, spectacular alpine scenery, passing alongside several lakes as well as you head through Switzerland into Italy. And then you'd have 2 nights in the wonderful destination of Venice. Really not like anywhere else, is it? Completely special. Then you would travel on to Vienna for a 2-night stay. And then we would travel back overnight from Vienna to either Cologne or Amsterdam. And then from there, head onwards to the UK. So that's where the overnight experience comes in. And this is where you spend the first night of your holiday on the shores of Lake Geneva. This is the Ucci district in Lausanne. Really, really nice place to spend the evening. Lots of wonderful buildings, lots of restaurants close to the lake where you can enjoy some nice views and go for a stroll perhaps before your journey the next day. And Venice we've covered a number of times on many webinars, so perhaps let's take a spotlight on Vienna for a moment. The Austrian capital, of course, so much to see, so much to do, so much history, so many great buildings. Sachertorte, mustn't forget that. Very, 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 very bad for you, but very, very tasty. And here's an example of one of those wonderful buildings, the Hofburg Palace, former imperial residence of the Hofburg dynasty. And you can also visit the wonderful Schönbrunn Palace as well, the summer residence just outside the city. Highly recommended to do. So lots and lots of history, lots to see, lots to do. And again, focusing on the overnight experience on the way home, what's it like? Well, again, you can kind of see a little bit of before and after. So on the right-hand side, you can see things set up for the evening. So we've got our traditional sleeper layout, as we're getting quite used to now. And then over on the top left, if we ignore the breakfast, that's what it would look like when you board the train. Sleeping car staff will bring the beds down for you and set everything up for the evening. And then in the morning, they'll collapse everything for you again, and you'll be served a light breakfast in your cabin, as you can see in our action shots here. Now, there's a number of different types of cabin available. These sleeper cabins can be available for sole use, double use, so couple sharing, as we have here, or for 3 people, so whichever you require. And there are 2 different types. All of those are available for either what we call economy cabins, which is the basic cabin here, or the deluxe variation. And the deluxe differentiation is that it has the mini ensuite bathroom once again. Now, once more, there are not very many of those on board each train. So again, if you like the one with the bathroom, like I said before, you can never be too early. Get in there quick is the best way to secure one of those. So there we are, a great way of exploring some classic Italian and Austrian destinations, Venice and Vienna, including a wonderfully scenic daytime journey and some overnight train travel as well. So ticking lots of boxes on that one, I think. Now, this particular holiday, well, the train might be a little bit offended if I refer to it as a sleeper train, but we will do on this occasion because we'll include a luxury rail experience in our holiday selection today. And this is, without doubt, one of the most famous train journeys in Europe, if not the world. As renowned in various films, all from the book, of course, the Venice Samplon Orient Express. Now, there's a number of different holidays that we have built around this spectacular and famous journey, mainly heading to Venice or from Venice back to the UK. But this one, we think, is a really nice option. We get lots of some people who just want to visit Venice, other people would like to explore more of Italy as well. But this is a really nice way to take some really great scenic rail journeys afterwards on your way home and enjoy a leisurely trip home after such a luxurious journey. So we start off with travel on board the Venice Samplon Orient Express as you travel overnight and have a unparalleled experience on board, which we'll take a closer look at in a minute, before waking up in that wonderful destination of Venice. I say waking up, it's in the late afternoon really. You have plenty of time to enjoy the delights of the Orient Express before arriving in Venice on the afternoon of day 2. You've got 3 nights in Venice to enjoy everything that Venice has to offer, and then we start our leisurely way back to the UK. So firstly, heading up via Milan to Switzerland via one of the most scenic train journeys in the world, the famous Bernina Express route. The whole route is UNESCO World Heritage listed. It's a miracle of engineering through system of bridges, viaducts, and so on. Absolutely stunning. Mountains, lakes, you've got the lot. Then you spend 2 nights in St. Moritz in Switzerland before taking another one of those famous train journeys that Switzerland is so renowned for. This time, it's the Glacier Express, and heading pretty much from east to west across Switzerland, through the mountains from St. Moritz to Zermatt. You've got 2 nights there. You'll also be able to enjoy some stunning views of the Matterhorn mountain via the Gornergrat Railway before travelling back to Zurich, and then you've got a choice. You can either fly home from there or take the train to Paris and from there to London. And once again, the choice is yours. Now, if you've wanted to know what is it like on board the Venice Samplon Orient Express, well, I'm here to show you. So here is the social hub of the train. This is the bar car. And this is where the great and the good will gather in the evening, either pre-dinner or post-dinner, perhaps. Excuse me. This is where the great and the good will gather in the evening, either pre-dinner or post-dinner, to enjoy a relaxing drink, perhaps, or to just soak in the wonderful ambience and enjoy the relaxing sounds of the pianist who will be playing throughout the evening. So really nice place to spend a couple of hours, and you'll find that everybody dresses up and enters into the spirit of the occasion as well. So it's really does feel like traveling back in time. It'll be it's not compulsory, but a suggestion of evening dress for ladies and gentlemen, and really does, everyone does enter into the spirit of it all, and with the decor and the uniforms of the staff, it really does feel like you're in a bygone age, all harkening back to the golden age of travel. Here is the lounge car, where you can relax during the day, perhaps get to know your fellow passengers, or maybe simply take in some of that stunning scenery as well. And this is what your cabin would look like when you board the Venice Samplon Orient Express. All period features, of course, and comfy seating arrangement waiting for you. Now, what happens is when you go for dinner, and there'll be plenty of very nice meals, all freshly cooked on board throughout the journey, your cabin attendant will be very hard at work, and he'll be beavering away getting the cabin ready for your overnight journey, and it will be transformed ready for the evening when you return. Now, if this doesn't look tasty and enough with the wonderful period furnishings, there's something even more special that is available. If you fancy traveling like a king or queen, then we do have grand suites available, and there's only, again, a very, very limited number of these. So there's probably going to be no more than 2, maybe 3 maximum on board any one train. And as you can see here, well, this really does look like traveling in a lap of luxury, doesn't it? So you've got, again, the full-size double beds, wonderful furnishings, you know, considerably larger, and you've got your own private bathroom as well. So very, very special. If you like the look of these, once again, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's because it's true. You need to get in there early, because they will go and they will be snapped up very, very quickly. And finally, we did mention travelling back through Switzerland at leisure on some of those wonderfully scenic Swiss journeys. And here's an example of some of the great scenery you get to enjoy, and both the Glacier and Bernina Express benefit from these wonderful panoramic windows that you can see here, which have got wonderful views from there. It means that everybody gets a perfect view. But one little recommendation that we'd like to drop in here as well is for the Glacier Express journey. There is a relatively new class of travel featured here, which you can upgrade to if you'd like to, and it's called Excellence Class, and this is one up from first class. And after such a wonderful journey on the Orient Express, this could be very different, but the perfect complement, I think. So it's one coach only, very, very exclusive, only maximum of 20 seats on board. Everybody has a table for 2, so you all get a perfect seat lined up with the windows, as you can see here. You've got your own concierge, your own bar, and you enjoy a full 5-course meal with accompanying Swiss wines as you head through that stunning Swiss scenery. So it's a real gastronomic experience as well as a cultural one there. So really, really memorable way of doing the trip. Highly, highly recommend this. And it would make, as I say, a very different type of journey, but one that we think goes really, really well with the Orient Express journey. So Glacier Express available in standard class, first class, and now excellence class as well. And to finish up with, we'll look a little bit further afield and spread our wings and head across the pond for our Great American Majestic Landscapes holiday. Now, a lot of the time we're asked when people are looking at traveling to the USA, what's the best way of traveling coast to coast across the country? And the answer to that is there's a couple of different ways, but if it's scenery that you're looking for, the most scenic journey, this is the one that I would probably go for. So this is our Great American Majestic Landscapes holiday, as I mentioned. We start off with 2 nights in New York City. Then you travel overnight on Amtrak on the Lakeshore Limited to the Windy City, Chicago, for a 2-night stay. And then you would take one of the most scenic journeys in the US, which would bookend your 2-night stay in Denver, where you spend 1 night on the California ZEPHYR, 2 nights in Denver, where we include a visit out to Rocky Mountain National Park, and then you would carry on the California ZEPHYR through Colorado, Utah, Nevada, before reaching California, and 2 nights in San Francisco, where we include some wine tasting, why not, when in Rome, before finishing your holiday on the West Coast. So New York is where we kick things off, the Big Apple, of course. So many great things to see and do, whether you've been several times before or it's your first visit. There's plenty to explore. Great view of Central Park here, but lots and lots of different activities, whether it's culture, shopping, museums, whatever it might be, you name it, lots and lots to get up to there. We then have an overnight journey from New York to Chicago, famous for its architecture, of course. Many skyscrapers, really fascinating architectural tours you can do there, and great views from the river as well. And this is where you start this really scenic train journey. So the California ZEPHYR will run from Chicago through to San Francisco. And we break the journey with 2 nights in Denver. So you have 1 night on board the train, 2 nights in Denver, then 1 night on board the train again. And what's really great about this particular journey is the variety of landscapes that you pass through. So everything from, you cross over the Mississippi fairly near the start. You've got great views of the Rocky Mountains, the Colorado Canyons, Nevada Desert, the snow-capped Sierra Nevada, the Utah Plains. You really get a variety of different landscapes as you pass through several states, as we saw on the map at the start. And it really does give you the feel of travel. It really is an integral part of the holiday, not just a means of getting from A to B. And the scenery on this journey is absolutely fantastic. As I say, to bookend it, we have a couple of nights in Denver in the middle, and you get to do a full day trip out to visit the great natural beauty of Rocky Mountain National Park. Just take a look at that. Pretty stunning, isn't it? So really beautiful part of the world, and great place to spend a full day. You'll be taken around by a guide who will take you to all of the main spots. Hopefully get to see some of the local wildlife as well, and a really nice way to explore that beautiful destination. And then we finish up on the West Coast in San Francisco. Of course, no need to introduce the famous bridge here that we all know. And of course, we'll include a Napa Wine Valley tour. Absolutely essential to do, I think, in that part of the world. Plenty of tasting involved, and yes, you can stock up on souvenirs to bring home with you if you would like to as well. So what's it like on board the overnight travel on board Amtrak, I hear you say? Well, there's a number of different types of accommodation, once again, that you can choose from. The first is coach accommodation, which you can see here, which is large, comfortable, reclining seats. We generally find that most people like to upgrade from coach for the overnight journeys, and there's two different ways that you can do that. The first of which is to get what they call a roomette, which you can see here. This is in daytime mood, and this is your own private room, and if you'd like to, you can order your meals and drinks in there as well, so you can relax and enjoy the views from the privacy of your own roomette if you'd like to. And this is the same roomette, but in nighttime mode. So again, the privacy, the door will pull across and can be locked from the inside, and you've got the traditional accommodation that we're used to by now here as well. And an upgrade from the roomette is the bedroom, which is very, very similar, but one key difference is that you have your own ensuite bathroom within the bedroom, which is from where this picture was taken, as you can see here. Again, you can order your meals from within your bedroom if you'd like to. You've got the privacy to relax, enjoy the scenery, and here it is in daytime mode once again as well. Also on board, you've got a variety of observation lounges from which you can enjoy that wonderful scenery that we talked about, all those different landscapes, or you can enjoy them within the comfort of your roomette or bedroom if you prefer as well. You'll get great views from there too. So lots of ways to enjoy the scenery. And there's a full dining room, of course, as well. And I should mention that if you are in a roomette or a bedroom, all of your meals, soft drinks, coffee are included in the cost of your ticket. So when you've got these overnight journeys, and you might well have 2 or 3 meals a day, all included in the cost of the ticket if you've got a roomette or a bedroom. So well worth keeping that in mind too. And that brings us to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's provided some food for thought on some wonderful overnight travel that you can do in Europe and North America, and some great itineraries that we could use to incorporate those overnight journeys, whether it's close to home in the UK or across the pond in the US or somewhere over in Europe, wherever it might be. Lots of great itineraries out there. Hope you found something that interested you. Plenty more ideas are available on the website, railbookers.co.uk. And in fact, you'll actually find a whole section on sleeper trains, overnight travel, which will have all of the holidays we've looked at today, plus lots of others as well, if you'd like some more inspiration. And if you like the look of the Orient Express, just head over to the luxury train journey section. And we've got a whole section with different itineraries involving that famous train journey. So lots and lots of ideas there as well. Been great to have you here with us today. Thanks very much for joining us. Stay safe, stay well. And hopefully we'll have the pleasure of your company on another webinar in the not too distant future. Thank you.